This is Ethan, and I'm here with Dave, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 54-inch.
On this week's episode, we interview Michael Hogan, star of the Plots R Us commercial in UHF.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
I had so much fun at our first anniversary live Instagram party this past Friday.
It was a blast. I was so surprised how long that went on. I was expecting people would get tired of us after 15, 20 minutes, and we went almost 2 hours.
I know, we didn't even know that Instagram Live had a time limit, and all of a sudden we're talking and we get disconnected, and we're like, oh no, we got to start back up because we had so many people just like interacting with us in the middle of the conversation. It was like everything went blank, and we're like, ah.
It was so funny where it cut out because we were talking about, we did a lot of fun stuff during the call. We showed off some collections. We answered some questions. We did trivia. And one of the trivia questions we asked was a really hard one that nobody had the answer to. And we were kind of teasing it, and then it cut out. So I can just imagine everyone watching is like, oh, those darn Dave and Ethan.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had trivia questions. We had some that, like, that tough one that nobody knew the answer to, but we did have a lot of ones that, we threw out there and people were answering. We have very smart listeners.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. And of course, those trivia questions were written by the one, the only UH Jeff, and they were unused from when we interviewed Scott Rogowski, who is the former host of HQ. If we had more time with him, we had planned on doing some trivia questions with him, and we thought, hey, these are perfect to share with our listeners, and I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a blast. Another thing that was a lot of fun was that we actually took a bunch of questions from our listeners. It was very interactive the entire time. We were showing things off from our collection. We were taking questions, and people were prompting us and, telling, hey, what's that? Hey, can you show us this? I think at one point somebody wanted to see the Poodle Hat cassette, and instantly you produced it, and they were really impressed by that.
I was too. I just happened to have seen it recently, so I knew where it was. We also, we were teasing some upcoming stuff on the podcast. And we even mentioned that we had a guest coming up soon that was in UHF. And we got all sorts of guesses from people. So I wonder who that is, Dave.
He might be on this episode. I don't know.
We'll have to see. Another fun thing, we brought out a list of all of our rejected podcast names.
Oh my God, they were so much fun to look at again. I don't think I looked at them in like over a year.
Yeah.
So I'm looking through this list and I'm like, oh, these are hilarious. Some of them, I got to admit, were pretty bad though.
Yes.
I'm like, how did they even make the list?
But then some of our listeners were suggesting other names, and they had some good ones. But too late. It's already Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. Sorry.
Yeah, it was so much fun to get to connect with all of our listeners. And we even had some past guests show up in the chat. I know JW was there for a while, Vicky DeVries, UH Jeff stopped by, Allison Parsons. Oh, man. And we even had some people in there that I think are going to be future guests at some point.
Oh, totally. And we even had Jeff the Drunk from the Howard Stern show up at one point. So it was a real party, lots of surprises. We even let slip that there is an alternate version of our theme song that Jim West sent us. So a lot of questions came through about that. A lot of fun stuff. I really enjoyed it. You think we should do that again, Dave?
I think we should do it again. That was a lot of fun. I know our listeners had a great time. A few people texted me right after it ended and said, oh, that was so much fun. I'm so glad you guys did that. So we definitely need to look into having more of these type of events.
Yeah, I had a few people who, for whatever reason, they couldn't stay the whole time, or they weren't even able to join at that time. But with Instagram, you can watch it for 24 hours. So those people were able to watch it, and they said they loved getting to see the whole thing. So that was really cool. I didn't know that it would be available like that. So that was an extra bonus.
I'm going to ask our intern, Frank, if there's a way that we can capture that video and put it up on our Patreon for people to enjoy forever.
Yeah, if they missed it or if they just want to watch it 100 times in a row. And of course, Dave, we came fully adorned. You had your party hat and your noise maker. We had our Yankaritas. And the only thing that was missing was our burritos.
Well, maybe for you, but I had my own stash of burritos just off camera. This week's episode brought to you in part by vegan Mexican restaurant Burrito in Troy, New York, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla Burrito. Come on down to Burrito and Burrito, your Burrito. Find them at burritosquared.com and at Burrito Squared on Instagram. And remember, not every burrito is a burrito, but every burrito can be burritoed. Just like the ones I have.
I'm glad you have a secret stash, Dave. I need to re-up my stockpile.
I know that our Instagram live party was big, breaking, important Al news, but believe it or not, there were actually other Al news that happened last week.
What?
Yes, it's true. You remember our past guest, Eric Roth, the conductor from the Strings Attached tour?
Of course.
Well, he has a brand new album out. He teamed up with Sam Griffin, and his album is called The RPG National Anthem Variations.
You can head over to rpgnav.bandcamp.com. It's a digital album. You can name your price, and it's all video game music, just like the Final Fantasy shows that Eric does. So it's definitely a great thing to check out. It was just launched last week.
Yeah, I was listening earlier today, and it's really good. I really enjoy everything that Eric has put out. Everything I've listened to that Eric has put out, I've really enjoyed. There's some sad news to report in the music community. This past week, Little Richard passed away.
Yes, Al commemorated him by posting an audience video of Al and the band performing Little Richard's Tutti Frutti at the Danforth Music Hall in Toronto, Ontario on March 8th, 2018 from the Ill-Advised Vanity Tour.
There's yet another Al connection to Little Richard, and that was back in 1994. Al appeared on an episode of Wheel of Fortune along with Little Richard, James Brown, and Lee Greenwood.
There's a great Rolling Stone article from a few years ago where they interview Al about that episode, and Al talks about how James Brown showed up and had no idea how Wheel of Fortune worked. They said he'd never seen Wheel of Fortune. He was so confused. They had to show him about the wheel, and they ended up pairing him with Little Richard. He wasn't originally going to be in a duo, but they needed someone more competent to be with him. So my favorite quote from the article, they have Al saying, "I don't think he'd even seen Wheel of Fortune. He didn't know the basic rules of the game. And when the wheel stopped, he said, give me an A." And they said to him, "You have to pick a consonant when you spin the wheel." And he said, "Europe."
That is classic James Brown. That whole episode, that is worth seeking out. It's probably somewhere up on YouTube, but it is so much fun to watch that episode because just pairing Little Richard and James Brown together, that is just pure comedy gold, the entire episode.
And Weird Al's there. You can't get any better than that, right?
Yeah, right. Even if Weird Al wasn't there, I would say seek out that episode just to watch James Brown and Little Richard team up together.
Now, we absolutely love it when we hear from our fans, and we especially love it when they send us news.
Yes, our listener, Steve Allen, he sent us a message and he pointed out that Al had posted a fan-made animated video.
It is so awesome. It looks like it's professionally done, but they got a bunch of animators together and made this fan video. They got all these animators together and they made this animated Al music video.
Yeah, the video is so cool. There are 14 animators that worked on it, and they all collaborated together to do Now That's What I Call Polka, the entire animated video. Now, we've seen the video before live in concert, and it was just a live video of Al splicing all the different, actual music video together. But I think this one rivals it. It's really well done.
Yeah, Al's written into the music videos, or these new characters are created starring Al. It's so funny. It reminds me of Ren and Stimpy and, all of those great animated music videos that Al's had over the years. So it is really great. It just came out this week. Definitely go check that out if you haven't already. The Cole Alb. I love that.
Yeah, great job to all of the animators who worked on that. Very well done.
Dave, you see this flashing light? It looks like we have a message on the 347 Spatula Hotline.
Hi guys, it's Joe Jaffa calling. I'm calling with some exciting news. The high school I went to, Crossroads High School in Santa Monica, California, just announced their lineup for a fundraiser called Coachella, or Rockin' Roads, the other title for it. It's May 16th, this weekend at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and Al is one of the performers. Many other fun names too, such as Mark Hamill will be there, Bill Hader, Henry Winkler, Trent Reznor, all with who either went to the school or their kids who go to the school. So definitely check it out. Thank you guys. I look forward to your episode this Wednesday.
Thank you so much to Joe for telling us about this. I went right to the website and it is amazing. You can find information at one.bidpal.net/rocknroads.
What is so exciting is Al is not only appearing on this live Rockin' Roads Coachella, he's also donating an amazing prize package that they are auctioning off.
There's some really cool merch in there. There's a bunch of t-shirts, there's a sweatshirt, there's an old stupid tour pass, there's a signed pair of Vans, some really cool stuff.
And the cherry on top is that Al will appear at your next Zoom party, and you can have up to 50 guests and up to a half hour of Al's time. I mean, just think what you can do with Al on a Zoom call for a half hour. Just how much fun would that be? I would invite 49 of my best friends, and we would just have a blast.
I don't know if I'd invite anyone. I'd probably bring you, I'd bring Kenneth and UH Jeff and a couple others, but I don't know. I don't know that I'd want to share it with 50 other people unless they were also kicking in on it.
Well, that's the thing, is that this is a great prize package, and what I loved about it, it is valued at exactly $2,000. Where have I seen that number before?
They're copying us, Dave. And the crazy thing is, so people are bidding on it. It is an auction. But if someone wants to just snipe it and buy it now, $4,000 gets you the merch pack and the Zoom party.
What a deal. I'm going to start counting the coins in my couch cushion right now and see if I can get $4,000 together.
As of this recording, it's at $950. The next bid is $1,000. I wonder what it'll go for.
So in addition to the great memorabilia you would get and the Zoom party, Al will also be appearing on Rockin' Roads Coachella this Saturday, May 16th, which starts at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time, along with Bill Hader, Bob Saget, Ed Norton, Ewan McGregor, Henry Winkler, Jim Belushi, Kate Hudson, Laura Dern, Linda Cardellini, Mark Hamill, Trent Reznor, and dozens of others.
It is going to be awesome. I am so excited. I wonder if Al's going to be singing a song or if he's just going to be speaking. I really don't know, but I am excited to check out Rockin' Roads Coachella. I love that name.
Not only do I love when our listeners send us information about upcoming Al events, I also love when our listeners send us actual physical items. I got a great item in the mail this week from our listener Kenneth Gwinnett, and he sent me this super duper rare LP from the UK. It is called Birdie's Party Time. And what's significant about it is that it actually has Al's Eat It on it. And I've been looking for this album for a long time, and Kenneth knew that. And he's like, Dave, I have an extra copy. I'm going to send it to you. No strings attached. I loved it. I was so excited when it finally came in the mail, and I opened it up and I was looking. Oh, I just love when I get new stuff.
That is amazing that not only Kenneth found something that you don't have, but Kenneth is just the greatest. I love Kenneth. He is the best. We love Kenneth. He's just such a special guy, and he's got an amazing Weird Al collection and wealth of knowledge all about Weird Al. And, Kenneth also insures his collection with the best.
This week's episode is brought to you in part by the Don Ferlazzo Allstate Agency in Clifton Park, New York. If you drive like crazy or are about to buy you a condo, Don Ferlazzo and his team can help you with crazy good auto, home, and renter's insurance. Plus, the Ferlazzo Agency can protect all of your super special Birdie's Party Time LPs.
You may think your insurance is good enough for now, but don't wait one more minute. Find the Ferlazzo Allstate on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call 518-278-3543 for a free quote today. The Ferlazzo Agency. We sell insurance, and that's all.
All right, Ethan, spring is in the air, and I've been doing some spring cleaning, and you won't believe this, but I actually found a box of stuff that I had not seen for a while, and it is filled with Al stuff that I still have to catalog.
Whoa. So that's like Christmas almost.
It was so cool. I opened up the box. I'm like, oh yeah, all this stuff that I haven't seen forever. And there's some really great stuff in there.
Oh, what are some of your favorites?
Oh, well, I found not one, not two, but 3 tour itinerary books.
Nice. I know a thing or two about the tour itineraries. So these are things that essentially, when they go on tour, and back in the day before we had apps and emails and that kind of thing, you'd print out an actual book, a bound book of all the tour dates, where the hotels are going to be, the venue specs, that kind of stuff. And it was given to everyone in the band and the crew. So those are hard to come by because there's only a finite number of people touring with the show.
Right, and most of them probably keep this as memorabilia because they spend, pretty much several months out on the tour. So this is a big chunk of their life, a big chunk of their year, how they spend their year. So these don't hardly ever get outside of the people they were intended for.
So which tours do you have there?
The most recent one I have is the 2008, the Straight Outta Linwood tour itinerary. But I also have one from Touring with Scissors back in 1999. And this is probably my favorite one just because I love the cover on it. But this is from the 1997 Bad Hair Tour. And if you have not seen this, the cover for that tour, the image that they used actually predates The Simpsons. But it was Al and everybody in the band drawn as if they were on The Simpsons.
Yeah, I know that image very well. It's also on the backstage passes from that tour.
So it's a coincidence that I found this book this week because just this week, the person who drew the actual artwork for the Simpsons cover, Eric Rhodes, he commented on one of our posts.
Yeah, he commented on our interview with Pam Ritchie. He loved it. And he said he had submitted a Simpsons-esque drawing of Al and the band. It made it on the back cover, just like your art made it on the back cover of one of the Midnight Star issues. And from there, Al and the band got in touch with him and hired him to draw that cover that you have in front of you, Dave.
That is so cool. Imagine getting hired by Al to be on an official piece of Weird Al artwork.
It's so cool. And too bad they didn't make shirts or other stuff with that. It is a really cool drawing.
So another cool thing I found in this box, do you remember back in 1996, Al was on this compilation album called Best of Polka?
Of course. Yeah, with Frankie Yankovic.
There's this whole publicity campaign that Al was involved in, and it had Al and his parents, and Al was playing an accordion with his mom and his dad looking over his shoulder. Well, they actually had holiday gift bags at Sam Goody available, and I have one of the holiday gift bags in this box.
Nice. Yeah, they had the gift bags, they had the posters, and isn't there even a giant Sam Goody display of Al and his parents somewhere?
There is a giant display, and those are pretty rare, but somehow, believe it or not, I actually have one in my collection.
I am not surprised, Dave.
What's really cool about this gift bag is it has Weird Al's holiday gift list on it, printed on the actual bag itself. And there are some really interesting items that Al asked for. Obviously, he asked for some really demented stuff like a Stan Freberg CD, the new one that was out at the time. But he also asked for a big pile of Twinkie Wiener sandwiches. He asked for the 4 CD box set of Schoolhouse Rock. He asked for 27 glow-in-the-dark Hawaiian shirts.
This is sounding very similar to my Christmas wish list.
Oh, a lifetime supply of wax lips. That's definitely on your list.
You know it.
Malibu Mr. Potato Head. Oh, cheese flavored dental floss.
Of course.
Oh, here's one from a previous guest of ours, Judy Tenuta's CD, In Goddess We Trust.
That's so awesome.
And this one is near and dear to me because this was actually because of the Best of Polka, that was where I actually got my leg signed by Al during one of the CD signings. But he asked for a tattoo of John Tesh on his butt.
Dave, do you have a tattoo of John Tesh on your butt?
No comment. Of course, he asked for the things that you always ask for. He asked for world peace and a hickey from Uma Thurman.
Oh, I love that was a mass-produced printed thing at those Sam Goody stores.
Yeah, I'm going to take a picture of this and I'm going to post it over on our Facebook group, group.2000inch.com. There's other stuff on this list that I didn't read, and it's really funny.
I've done a little bit of spring cleaning myself, Dave. I came across some cool things that I just hadn't seen in a couple years. So I have this whole set of these slides with Weird Al related pictures on them. So some of them have complete Al stuff, some are promo pictures, and I even have an original slide used for printing headshots that's held together with this red tape, and it's really cool.
Wow, that's really cool. I don't know that I've seen anything like that before.
I'll have to show you next time I see you. Oh, the other thing I found, which is really cool, is I have an unbound press copy of Al's book, My New Teacher and Me. And it is the full art, full, raised printing on the cover version of the book, but it just does not have it doesn't have the book. So it's a version that you can kind of ship flat, maybe cheaper, to members of the press. And I found it somewhere over the years. So that was a cool thing to come across.
Wow, that's something else I've never heard of. Tell me a little bit more about that. What is it? It's just like one flat piece of paper and it just has the entire book printed on it?
Yeah, it's so crazy. So it's like when you see the hardcover book, it has like a dust jacket around it. So it's the dust jacket of the actual book. So it's got the embossed lettering, and then inside are all of the pages from the book, but it's not bound into a book. So it's just long pieces of paper that are folded just the way that they would be in the book, but it's just not stitched together with string and binding. So it's really interesting. I've never seen any book like this, let alone another one for a Weird Al book. So it's a unique find.
So what you're telling me is they sent you the pieces to make your own book.
Essentially, except for the hard board part. Dave, did you have anything else in that box before we head over to our interview with Michael Hogan?
Yeah, now this one is really cool. It is an ad for WeirdAlStar.com.
Whoa. An ad for WeirdAlStar.com? What exactly does that mean?
There's this event called NAMSA, which is the North American Model Horse Show Association. And back in 2006, they had this event in Lexington, Kentucky. And for the event, they printed out this itinerary, this agenda of what was happening during those 3 days that the event was going on. And in the event schedule, they had these advertisements. And I don't remember what happened, but I remember at some point, Jackie said that you can put an advertisement in for WeirdAlStar.com into this actual event calendar. So what we had is we had one of my favorite artists, Aaron Shea. She drew a picture of Harvey the Wonder Hamster sitting on a model horse, like a Breyer horse. And then she put some text around, hold your horses. Al doesn't have a star yet. Weird Al Yankovic deserves a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Learn more at WeirdAlStar.com.
That is awesome.
So it's a half a page ad in this event schedule. And I'm pretty sure that unless you're a model horse collector, this is probably the only one in a Weird Al collection.
Now I'm going to have to find one of those.
Since this is such a rare piece, I will also take a picture of this and post this over on our Facebook group as well.
Now, I am so excited to get into our interview with Michael Hogan. We found him on Twitter. He actually participated in the UHF live watch that our friend Jeff McClellan put together. And I saw him posting, and I saw that he was in the film. So I'm so excited for us to check out this interview.
And we love to talk to people that are in the movie UHF. And the gentleman that we have on the line right now, he was in the movie for all of 8 seconds, but it was probably one of the most memorable scenes in the movie. This is that scene with the cemetery, The Plots Are Us. He's uncredited in the movie, but he is the son in cemetery. That is the official casting name that he was given. Please welcome to our program, Michael Hogan. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. We're so glad that you made time to chat with us.
Absolutely. I'm really kind of looking forward to doing this bit of walk down memory lane, as it were.
So how did you get involved with the filming of UHF?
At the time, it was the summer of 1988, and I was a junior at the University of Tulsa, just down the road from a lot of the filming locations, including the cemetery. And I saw some of the advertisements for a casting call. They had what they advertised was for silly acts, and it was the auditions took place at the Kensington Galleria, which is where a lot of the other part of the film was made. And I stood in line. There were about 100 people or so that showed up that day. I turned out to be right behind the guy who sang upside down between two chairs with his ukulele. Can't remember what his name was, but he went on right before me, so that was just a little intimidating.
Yeah.
He was so good, and obviously, he made it in the movie. My claim to fame for that little audition was the world champion fastest twister player, and I brought the board game Twister, and spun the dial, and then played a game of Twister right there in front of the casting booth.
Now, what makes it the world's fastest game of Twister? How do you get the champion at being the fastest Twister player?
If I recall correctly, I spun the dial 3 times and then fell. It took all of about 30 seconds.
That's amazing. And it left an impression on them, obviously.
Yeah. And I then got a call about a week later on my answering machine. Again, this is the kind of thing where you wish you'd kept it.
Right.
But it was one of those old digital things, and it lost to time. But they said, and it was the voice message, the casting director saying they wanted me to be the son in the cemetery, and that they would send me some paperwork. So I guess a couple of weeks later, I got the paperwork to fill out, and it included a time, date, and place to be, which happened to be a makeup and costume trailer just outside the house, where they were, filming the family running to get into the car for the Spatula City commercial.
Oh, cool.
Did you get to actually watch any of the Spatula City commercial being filmed?
Yes, that was the one thing that we got to see. We got to watch several takes of them running from the house to get into the car and drive off.
That's great.
So, and of course, I didn't know what I was watching at the time until we saw the movie. And it's like, oh, I know that. So we did that. After we got our costume and makeup, we then it was both me and my quote mom. I honestly can't remember her name. I met her right then.
So that was not your real mother that was in the scene with you? No, okay.
No, she was really old enough to be my grandmother at the time.
Did she audition as well for the Twister part?
No, I had never met her before that day.
Okay.
She just introduced. They introduced me and say, "Here's your mom, and we're going to head over to the cemetery." And we got out, and they had the track laid out for the camera, and a starting point and an ending point, and said, "Just walk from here to here, and console your mom." That's we did maybe 4 or 5 different takes. Got driven back to the trailer to change our clothes, and that was it.
Wow.
Said thanks very much and have a nice day.
Now, the clothes that you wore, were those clothes that were provided to you, or were those your actual suit?
Yes, no, they fitted me for the jacket and the pants and the shirt and tie. And
wow.
Yeah, that was all costuming. I didn't have to wear, I guess, any of my own clothes. I can't remember what I wore that day there, but and then I guess maybe a month or so later, I got a check for a whopping $45.
Amazing.
So that's the story.
That's so amazing. I love that. So, I'm curious who was around, during the casting session, during the filming. Did you see Al? Did you see Jay Levy? Was there anyone else you recognized?
I never saw or got to meet Al. I kind of wish I had. And if Mr. Levy was around, junior and college, that's not the not somebody that I probably would have recognized right off the bat, even if I'd been standing next to him.
Right. Okay.
I was just kind of enthralled to have been called back and invited to participate in this thing. It was I probably told everybody that I encountered on campus, "Hey, I'm going to be in this movie. You're going to have to come see it."
Did you have any idea that it was UHF or Weird Al's movie at the time, or was it just, hey, you're going to be in a movie?
No, I knew it was advertised as Weird Al's movie.
Oh, cool.
And at the time, so yeah, they did a number of as you know, they had a number of calls out to the community to, hey, come participate in this or that. One of the other things that I actually did participate in was the run up to the Spatula City storefront.
Okay.
I have looked at that footage so many times to see if I could find my head, or even recognize, because I had a car at the time. It was a great car. It was a 1973 custom cruiser Oldsmobile station wagon that had the back that opened up like the Starship Enterprise bay doors, and they put out that call to come park your old car in the parking lot of the Spatula City lot, and I managed to get it into the lot, but it was pretty far back, so it didn't make it into the shot.
Well, it's there in our hearts, at least.
Yes, and I absolutely know I was there.
Yes.
How long did the entire shoot take? Like, was it a full day shoot? Was it a half a day, an hour? How long would you estimate it took for the entire shoot?
Yeah, I would say I was there for a whole 3 hours. So I think I made $15 an hour.
That's pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, hey, at the time it was awesome.
1988. Yeah.
Yeah.
So was there any kind of a premiere or, even a local screening of UHF?
Yes, and I was at that first showing.
Wow.
There were a number of us that snagged tickets and were able to go and saw the first show of it. And there were maybe 5 or 6 of us, and various and sundry people who were part of the movie were there. I don't remember Al or Mr. Levy being there, but every once in a while, amidst all the other laughs, you would hear this tumultuous cheer from a different part of the crowd.
Right.
as they saw themselves on screen or they recognized something. And then of course my little group got a sufficient cheer for my little 8 seconds too.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. So how did your friends react when they saw you up on the screen?
It was we were all just, I was kind of dumbfounded. I never thought I'd see myself up on a movie screen that large, and then to think that it was just me and this other person. There's absolutely no mistaking that it's me.
Right.
Usually crowd shots or scenes with extras or even uncredited people, it's like you're squinting at the screen, even as large as it is, and is that me? And it's like, okay, well, I was one of only 2 live people in that shot. So
now, had you ever been to that cemetery before?
No, I have no relatives there. I've driven by it many times, but no. Other than that, that was the only time that I've ever set foot in that cemetery.
Oh, so you've never even gone back and trying to recreate it or anything?
Well, no, yeah, I take that back. My aunt and uncle had their 50th anniversary wedding celebration at the Firemen's Museum, which is a stone's throw from this location.
Oh, okay.
It's from the perspective of the shot, it's behind the camera. It's this little historic fire hall building that the city of Tulsa used to send out calls for the Firemen's Association all over Tulsa, and they turned it into a museum now. But that was the most recent. I think it was 2 years ago now that we were back at that location. I mean, it was right next to the cemetery, and so yeah, I went out and tried to find those headstones.
Oh, that's so cool.
So, Michael, the name of the cemetery, according to my records, is Oak Lawn Cemetery, and that is at East 11th Street in Tulsa.
Yes.
And like you said, that little section off to the side near the Tulsa Fire Museum is where the scene was shot. Now, back in 2013, for the 25th anniversary of UHF, my friend Vicky and I, we went out to Tulsa and we tried to find as many locations as we could where UHF was shot. And we actually went to this cemetery, and we wanted to make sure we found the exact spot it was. So we drove around that cemetery for, I'm not kidding, for 15 minutes looking to see if we could find where it was. And we knew we had to look for, we had this guy that we were using, and the guy we were using was still picture from the movie of you and your mother walking through the cemetery, and there were 3 gravestones in there. And my friend Vicky and I, we drove around looking for those gravestones. We said, there's a flat stone next to a rounded stone, and there's an urn behind it. And we drove around, and we couldn't find it for the longest time. And then what happened was, Vicky kind of spotted an urn and said, I think it's over there, but the stones don't line up. And what had happened is, I got out of the car, I looked at it, I said, that's got to be it, but it's missing a stone. And what happened was one of the stones had fallen over.
Oh.
So I actually uprighted the stone. I couldn't get it back on the pedestal. It was way too heavy, and it was raining that day, and I didn't want to risk going to the hospital for that. But I uprighted the stone, and I looked at the picture of you and your mother walking the cemetery, and I said, that is it. And I took an exact picture, and I'm going to send it to you after we get off after this episode. I'm going to send it to you, and you can see that I'm standing in the exact same spot that you and your mother are standing. And I'm just so happy I have that shot, and I'm so happy that I get to talk to you, the person who I stared at for 15 minutes in the car, trying to figure out where this scene was shot in the cemetery.
Oh my goodness,
Michael! I will say I do stare at pictures of you in my car, but I have not been to that cemetery. So.
Okay, all right. Well, that's comforting. Thank you.
You know what's really surprising about that, Dave, is that there were real tombstones. Like I guess I would have thought that it would be props or but no, so it was legit the actual graveyard and the actual tombstones.
Yeah, and what you can't see is that we're having to step very gingerly over some of those headstones that are the kind that sit flat in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So before the scene began and just after it ended, we kind of did a little lunge over a couple of graves that were there, and it's like, okay, this is just a little weird,
right?
But then again, it goes with the movie. It's just keeping that in my mind's eye is just, it still boggles me today.
Now, I think the one question that all of our listeners must know: was there a complimentary salad bar at the shoot?
I wish it was lunchtime when we shot it, so yeah, I was hungry, but there was no food truck around.
Okay.
And they didn't offer us anything, not even a bowl for a salad.
Right. So. Oh, that's so great.
Now, all these years later, you made $45 on this shoot. Do you get any kind of residual checks or anything?
Oh, good Lord, no. No.
So it's a one-time deal, $45. That's it.
Yep.
Get out of here.
Yep, that was, and it was probably part of the paperwork that I had to sign. That the understanding that this is a one-time deal and all of the legalese that goes with that.
Do you still have that paperwork with you?
No, it was something that I had to turn in. I couldn't keep, and of course you don't think to make a copy of it for yourself. I don't even remember how many pages there were. But there were enough to tell me, okay, I'm going to get paid once.
Do you have any memorabilia or anything that you kept from the shoot that day?
No, I had to turn in all the clothes. And really, the only memorabilia that I have are my memories. It's very cool to be able to, every once in a while, it'll be shown on one of the local TV stations down here in Dallas, and I always will, when I come across it, I can always tell whether my scene has happened or not, because this is one of those kind of pivotal moments in the movie where it changes from, oh my goodness, what's going on, to, okay, this is going to be a lot more fun. I think the, if you want to take the metaphor even a little further, that scene in the cemetery was U-62 dying and giving rebirth.
I guess I never thought about it that deeply.
Well, I've had a few years to think about it.
And so it's safe to say you've seen the film again since it was
released.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yes, I have my own DVD.
Yeah. Okay. You paid $45 for.
Thankfully, no, I didn't have to.
Okay.
So you have a copy of the movie on DVD. Now, how often do you show it to your friends and family? Because if I was in the movie UHF, I would be showing it every single night at my house. I'd be up and screening of UHF.
No, it comes out on special occasions, and every once in a while, I've got 8 nieces and nephews, and when they're old enough to understand it, 4 or 5 years old, just to say, here's your uncle in a movie, I'll trot it out for that.
Of course.
And then, if, I meet and get to know some folks, and eventually the conversation will roll around to, so what movies do you like? Well, let me tell you. So it's also one of those fun things at work, whenever they have one of those sheets that you get to know your coworkers, and so I can always put in, I have 8 seconds of fame in a movie. And it'll blow some people's minds, and other people are like, okay.
Well, it definitely blows our mind, because that is such an honor to be anywhere in that movie, even for 8 seconds.
Well, again, it's so cool to talk with y'all about this. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, Michael, I have one last question I want to ask you.
Okay.
And that is it's going to get a little personal. I hope you don't mind. But when the time comes, have you pre-made any arrangements to have that cemetery be your final resting spot?
No.
No, or not yet. There's still
I'm
time.
gonna guess. I'm gonna say no personally, but you never know. I may not have a choice.
Amazing.
Oh, thank you, Michael. This has been a blast. It's been so much fun to talk to you, and it's such an iconic scene in the movie. I'm so glad that you had a wonderful experience that day.
I am too. I really appreciate you guys for what you do, and the fun that you have doing it.
Oh, it was so great to talk to Michael Hogan. What do you think about that part where he says that he thinks the cemetery scene is a metaphor for U-62 dying and being reborn?
I think he is looking into it way too deeply. I think he's brought new meaning to that scene because he watches that scene closer than anyone else on Earth, except maybe the woman who played his mother. So I think he's just trying to seem more important in the film. What I would totally do if that was me. But it does make me think, are there other things that we need to think about more deeply in UHF? What are these hidden messages? What are these, unanswered questions?
Well, what I've always wondered is that, Stanley gets his old mop back. What happened to his new mop? Does he start using both of them?
That's a great question. Maybe the mop symbolizes a metaphor for mops. I think we need to interview the mop.
We will get our intern Frank right on that. He will try to track down that mop, and we will make sure we interview that mop once he tracks it down.
I look forward to that riveting interview. And another interview we have to look forward to, this is just a tease. We do speak to someone coming up in year 2 in the next couple months who gives us some insights on UHF casting, and specifically Michael Richards, as well as some other really fun scenes in the movie. And all that information was news to me, so I think our listeners are going to love that. So that's coming up sometime in the future. Just a little tease for you.
I'm looking forward to sharing all those insights with you, our listeners. And you know what? Each week we can bring you this podcast absolutely free, thanks to sponsors like Don Ferlazzo Allstate and Burrito, and all of our amazing Patreon supporters like Jackson, Joe, and our 2 newest members to our Patreon family joining just this month, Vicky and Spencer. And so many more great supporters over at patreon.com/2000inch.
Patreon helps us pay the bills, and it ensures that we can continue doing what we love and what you love, and that's making fun, family-friendly, entertaining Weird Al podcasts for the world.
So please join us in thanking all of our supporters over on patreon.com/2000inch for making this podcast possible. And please consider joining our Patreon family. You can join for as little as $1 per month.
And another way to support the podcast is by purchasing merchandise from the official Dave and Ethan 2000-inch Weird Al podcast shop. Head over to shop.2000inch.com for great items like a Gill and Chill t-shirt, which I showed off in our Instagram live last week, and many other awesome items.
I'm so excited to finally get my Gill and Chill beach towel. Thanks again to Michael Hogan and to all of our listeners, all of our subscribers, Patreon supporters, and sponsors. And thanks to everyone who follows us at 2000inch on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Be sure to join our Facebook group if you haven't already by heading to group.2000inch.com. And when you're posting online, tag Fun Al or podcast-related posts on social media by using hashtag 2000inch and hashtag Gill and Chill.
Find us online at weirdalpodcast.com or 2000inch.com, and remember to share our posts and tell your friends about the podcast.
And we love it when you leave us messages to play on the air at our 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline, 347 Spatula. Just like Joe did this week, we love it when you let us know about upcoming Al news, anything Al related, or if you've been to a concert or you see something and you just want to let us know, we may even play it on the air.
If you're doing some spring cleaning and come across a great Weird Al item, give us a call, 347 Spatula, and let us know what you found. You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or the podcast app of your choice. The only way to make sure you do not miss a single episode is if you subscribe.
All right, Dave, we got to head out now. We got to go play the world's second fastest game of Twister.
Oh, I'll help. That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 54-inch. Yeah, well, Milton Bradley's got a deaf one. It's a twister. Twister, twister, twister. Yeah, all the girls and homeboys playing twister. Twister, twister, twister. Spin the spinner and call the shot. Twister ties you up in a knot. That's twister. Yeah, twister. Check it. Right foot blue. Right foot blue. Left hand red. Left hand red. Left, right, yellow, blue, green. Yeah, twister. Now everybody's chillin' with the twister, twister. Wherever things are illin', you'll find twister, twister, twister. That's twister, yeah, twister. Yeah, buddy, you gotta get it, yeah, twister. From MB.